My mother is dead, and everything is worse now. What's up, y'all? My name is Jessie, and I'm here to talk about the readathon I'm hosting in November in honor of my mother, who died suddenly on the last day in August. It took me a while to figure out how I wanted to begin the process of sending my mother's spirit home. She and I, as you guys know, through the years on the channel, through my Instagram, she and I are closer than skin. And my mother was all about celebration and party and community and love. And she loved this community. Like I said on Instagram, she was I think she might have been the first. I don't know if she was the first person that I told, but she was one of the first people that I told when I was thinking of starting a YouTube. And she was the reason that I did it, because her overwhelming, she was just the idea. She was like, I think you're going to blossom there. And I started BookTube, and even though my mom, her disabilities make physical reading not enjoyable or possible, she started listening to horror audiobooks with me, and like on drives, and she would follow certain booktubers. She would ask about my patrons, how the patrons are doing. She was a patron. I didn't know that she was going to become a patron until I saw her sign up one day. And she signed up for the artery tier, which is $3. And she was like, one day I'll be able to, become a heart level patron. And I was like, I can pay for that. And she's like, no, I want to do it myself. My mom, being a very disabled woman, didn't have financial stability. And it's not something I talk about on the internet, but I've been helping and we have been working on achieving financial stability and independence. She really desperately wanted to be independent, to not be on disability. She wanted to find a business of her own that she could do, that she could be in charge of, where she could make money, because she loved to work. And in the months before her death, she got really good at sewing and crocheting, and she was working on book sleeve covers for readers, where you could put pens in them and your annotating supplies. She was also making book bags designed for readers. I'm going to go show you some of them. And she called the business Handmade by Suki. It was supposed to launch next month. My mother died of extremely preventable health causes. That were associated with her being brown and poor. I have gone with her to doctors for years and had to advocate, because I'm the one who is quote unquote articulate and has a science background. And even in the office with me, the amount of advocating I would have to do for my mom. Like, I have seen firsthand the way that doctors treated her, spoke to her, talked down about her, told her fibromyalgia wasn't real, that her nerve pain and the shaking wasn't real, that she shouldn't still have back pain after 2 failed surgeries, that the stenosis in her neck wasn't real, that her dissociative identity disorder wasn't real. And the fact that she ended up dying of a heart attack, despite having an incredibly strong life, her entire life. She was at the doctor. She was at a lung pulmonary specialist the day before she died, because she was having chest pains and coughing up blood. And that doctor let her walk out of there. And the next day she was dead. They said that her heart was significantly enlarged, but she also had fluid in her lungs. She died exactly the same way that my grandma died. 4 years ago of COVID. And that's grandma back there. She's in the blue urn, and the black box, unfortunately, is my mom. I have not been able to get an urn for her yet, because after her death, I inherited 3 dependents, and we're all living together in this house that doesn't have space for us, you know, with her belongings too, in addition to that, and having to adjust to like paying bills for not just myself has been hard. So unfortunately, priority-wise, I've had to wait to get my mom her resting place. So I'm excited, and sorry, I'm just kind of rambling because I'm trying to avoid talking about the readathon, but I wanted you guys to know the pieces leading. I want people to know that my mom died of completely preventable causes, that she had a live-in caregiver, and no one saw the signs of her heart attack, despite that she was having an active heart attack for days. Like, and I'm not blaming anyone, but I am saying objectively, right, she should be alive. It's just a fact. And because of the way that she died, because of how similar it is to how grandma died, because the reason that grandma died was because she wanted to go back to Texas during COVID, and my mother begged her not to go. And she came back with COVID, and then she died of pneumonia. And my mom was living with me last year, and we were trying to financially make it work because I wanted to support my mom. So I moved her and her dogs out here. And unfortunately, our dogs fought. And so she was like, I can't risk my dogs not being safe. I'm going back to Michigan. And I should never have let her go, because I would have seen. And she would still be here. So in a lot of ways, I'm just here to be honest. I'm not gonna tell you that my relationship with my mom was absolutely perfect, but I will tell you that I have not met another person who's closer to their mom than I was. She was my best friend. There was nothing that I could do that was wrong or not good enough. She thought my YouTube videos were incredible, and even though all I see when I look at them are the mistakes, and she would watch them and replay them. Like I FaceTime her and I just find her watching my videos. And I guess my grandma did the same thing too. Before she died, she would fall asleep to them. And as I'm thinking about how to honor my mom's life, right, it just came to me, like, she loved that I had YouTube. She hated that I haven't been doing it for since April, but I haven't been on YouTube because of mental health. Like, my grandma's death still affects me. We were also really close, and also I've been working as a dancer, as a stripper, in order to support myself and get myself back on my feet, because caring for my mom last year did take out my savings. And I've been also stripping as research for a book, my book Suddenly in Love, which is about 2 studs that fall in love, and one of them is secretly a stripper. So my mom made me these beautiful bags that I take with me to work. And anyway, the last thing I want to do right now is dance. I want to be, and so I've been doing soul searching about what I need and what would make my mom happy. And I realized that it was me quitting dancing, going back to YouTube, me just posting on YouTube, and also hosting a readathon in her honor. She loved BookTube. I will link one video in particular down below. It's the one that I did. What was it called? Soaked in Smut. And I read sexy books in the bathtub, and my mom was in the start of the video, and it was insane. It was insane. It was very raunchy. And I think that was the last. Anyway.
Photo op! Ow!
I realized that she would fucking love a readathon centering herself She loved reading my comments. She would respond to them. She would ask how you guys were doing. She would tell me so much, like, I'm so glad you have them, because she knew that you guys were my safe space. And I know that if I don't go back to BookTube now, I will never come back. Because I don't want to be anywhere. And I know that it would hurt her if I stopped doing something that I loved so much, just because she wasn't there to witness it anymore. That was Anouk. Her final wishes, she had 2 final wishes. They were take care of my brother and take care of my dogs. Because of that, the dogs that were fighting initially are now in the house, and that has been incredibly stressful, but initially there was an attack. We saw a trainer. Anouk was fine. I've been training her ass off. I'd already been working with her on her violence issues for years, and they're finally at the point where they can be around each other. But we have to leave this house because since Anouk has been attacked in this house, there's a chance that, you know what I mean. So besides the fact that my brother needs a bedroom, we all need more space. We have to move, and which means through all of this that I've been dealing with, I haven't been grieving at all. And I know I need to start, because not grieving is killing me. Because it's just like every day, all of the things that are in my body, I can't get out, and they're still there when I wake up. And I want to get back into a spot where I can like do yoga again, and I want to make sure everyone in the house has enough food and the dogs have enough food, and that like there's just so much that goes into expenses wise, death, that I didn't know about. And I know that this was exactly the situation my mom was scared I would be in one day if she didn't get herself financially independent. And I want to pray to her, and I want to talk to her. But every time I try, I get scared that she's gonna feel like a failure. And that she won't be at peace. One of the last things she said when we spoke on the phone was like, like, I've wanted independence my whole life, and I want it so bad. She was like, I feel like the things she said about herself, because she didn't have financial independence, despite the fact that she worked herself into a disability and raised 2 kids and survived all of the things that she survived, and she still felt like a failure because all that society cares about is capitalism. And what heals me is being around people that knew her or care that she's gone. And so this readathon is a big part of my grieving process. And also in keeping me in BookTube, because I know that dancing is no longer good for me and that I need to stop. At least at this point in my life. it's been. But again, like, I feel like I don't have a choice because, like, I have a family to support now. And at 32, I wasn't ready. If there's one piece of advice I can give, it's that you get life insurance. Or you take out life insurance. Like, this past year, that was something that she talked about constantly. I'm gonna get life insurance so that you and Jamil are set if anything goes wrong. I want to leave you with something. I want to make sure you're okay. I don't want her to feel like she failed. Because she didn't. And I'm hoping that if I do this readathon and we all celebrate her and tell her how much she loves her, then maybe I will know. Maybe I will know that when I talk to her, she won't feel guilt. I'm going to talk about the readathon. And at the end of this video, I'm going to talk about some ways that you can support my family in addition or instead of the readathon if you would like. All right, so normally I'm more organized than this, but you know. Okay, so Mom's readathon is called Suki's readathon. Suki is her chosen name, is one of her many chosen names. And Suki was the personality that she felt safest inside of. So it's called Suki's readathon. It starts November. It runs all November, if that's the best way for you to participate. But I'm running it specifically November 1st to the 11th, and there's going to be like sprints and activities during that time. So, and there will be closeout sprints or a live show on November 30th. So, yeah, okay, so Suki's readathon sprints on this channel, the first ones will be November 4th. And they will be at like around 4 p.m. I want to say, yeah, 4 p.m. CST, so 5 p.m. EST. Oh, it's so gross. Thank you for putting up with all my grossness, but okay, so the fun part, the prompts. A book with a heart on the cover. My mother had an incredibly big heart. I know she still has it to this day. And I've been told a lot that I have a big heart. I get told that constantly. And it was because we had a big heart. Because I got that from her. And it's also because she died of a completely preventable heart attack. You know what really fucking makes me mad about her death is that the reason she fled Minnesota, in addition to the dogs getting attacked, was because we got her an apartment, an only place that would rent to her, even with 2 emotional support animals and a disabled woman, like, was a slum. And I didn't want her to move in. But no one else would. We even messaged, like, people who were renting out rooms in their homes, and they didn't want to have, like, 2 emotional support animals. I had a lot of people discriminate against the fact that she was on Social Security and that Social Security would be paying the rent, which I found insane because, like, well, yeah, then the rent's paid for. Like, you're guaranteed the rent's paid. So I co-signed on her lease and she moved in and she ended up fleeing Minnesota because a man in the building or near the building was stalking her and he attempted to abduct her. And drag her into a car, and she fought for her life. She had him on the ground begging for mercy, because that's who my mother was. My mom was from the Bronx. Okay, and we are divinely protected. And she has a protector named Lori that I really love. And I'm so excited to get both Suki and Lori tattooed on my hand. These tattoos were for Abuela when she died. This star was her. And the second biggest star was my mom. And then it's my brother Jamil, and the little one is me. So I'm really excited to get her hand tattoos, and I'm hoping to have the money to do it during the readathon. So I'm gonna put the GoFundMe and my CashApp or whatever below. My CashApp is through my dancer name, which is arianamoralea. So if the CashApp Venmo doesn't seem like me and it says Ariana, that's because that's my dancer name. Yeah, so the second prompt is a book that starts with an S. I feel like I changed the aquatic theme prompt. They'll be on the screen, but a book with an aquatic theme, a book that starts with an S, a book where the protagonist is a mom, a book that involves an investigation. You can also read a book that centers Dia de los Muertos, the Mexican celebration of the dead. This will be I didn't do calavera makeup when Abuela died, but I did attend ceremony for Dia de los Muertos, and this year I'm planning on doing traditional Mexican Los Muertos makeup in honor of both of these incredible Mexican women. So it's going to be scary having to do that makeup by myself, because traditionally that's something your ancestors and your family teach you and pass down. It's funny because I've always tried to be prepared for this. My abuela's mom was murdered in front of her when she was 9. My mom lost her mom. And it seems like I thought we were going to grow old together. I thought we had more time. There was a bonus prompt. It was read a book with a service animal. I don't remember the prompts. I'm sorry. And I'm filming on my phone, or I would check. Now, there's other ways that you can support my family right now. You can light a candle, write her name on it, light the candle. You could write her name and burn it. You can say her name, Suki Small. You can tell her that you love her. You can support the family via, someone sent me a gift from a book from my Amazon wish list, which I haven't visited. And it used to be really popular to send booktubers books via Amazon, like when we were all really small. Like we were all sending each other books. So it was a really beautiful gift, because I left it downstairs because I opened it, read the note, and I just had to put it down and walk away. So I can't remember who sent it, but I'm going to go get it. They sent the sequel to Rage of Dragons. So I'm really excited about that, because, I have conflicting feelings about Rage of Dragons. And anyway, it made me realize that a way that people could help support is I'm going to put some things the household needs on my Amazon wish list. And if you guys want to send us toilet paper or whatever, cool. Excuse me. I know my family's going to be fine. My brother, who's also lives with disability, he is able to work, and he's working his ass off trying to find a job. But he's also a grieving son. And then my younger brother isn't working anymore because he's interviewing, and he is in the process of getting a really awesome job. But just because Minnesota is racist and sucks, and I'm not even going to get into that. Like, we lost some financial stability too, because I was working this retail job at my favorite store and they wouldn't give me bereavement. And then when I was like, okay, but, and then I got yelled at for being on my phone when I was literally on the phone in the back talking to the medical examiner, getting like results from my mom's autopsy. And she was like, the boss was like, well, then you need to ask me first. So the next day, right, I tell her, I'm like, hey, I can't come in because like the sink exploded, there's the plumbing issues, my little brother's dealing with it, like I need to be in contact with my relatives. And she was like, okay, that's fine. And then she calls me in for inventory and I'm like, I requested that off. And she's like, everybody has to do inventory, it's mandatory. And I was like, okay, everyone whose mom just died, or okay. So I noticed when I got there at 5 a.m., all the students were given inventory off. So clearly not everybody. And as I'm like doing inventory, crying, not processing things well, having to rescan stuff. I've also never done inventory before. It was my first retail job. She's berating me to the point where you're like, oh, you go faster, blah, blah, blah. To the point where girls that I'm working with come up to me and are like, are you okay? Like, are you know what I mean? And eventually but none of them like spoke up for me, like, and I'm of course the only black one at the store. And I ended up telling her like, okay, it's 11 a.m. I got to go pick my aunt up from the airport. And she was like, you can't leave until inventory's done. And I was scheduled until 11 a.m. And I was like, if you had spoken to me with more respect throughout this shift, I would stay. And she's like, well, that's insubordination. And I said, well, your treatment of me is unacceptable. She said, okay. I walked out and another girl followed me and was like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like, that's unacceptable. But long story short, that job also. So it was like an avalanche of things came at once. And also I'm now maintaining a storage unit with the rest of my mom, and with what my mom maintained in a storage unit of my abuela's effects in Michigan. And it's $300 a month. So now I'm maintaining that. But where I'm going with this is that $300 a month, right, could have been used. My mom could have used that to save and help start her business earlier and like get herself better care and all of these things. And I just, like, poverty killed my mom. And I just find that so sick. Poverty and racism. We don't have a history of heart issues in my family. We don't have heart attacks. And her heart was broken. Like, she and Abuela were connected. We were all connected. And COVID was preventable. So my family is dead from preventable causes. Like, I lost my mother's for no reason. I try not to get mad at it, but just, and it's been weird because that same boss, right, it was like a 27-year-old, very cheery white woman. When my mom died, she was like, oh my God, anything you need, Jessie, anything you need, anything at all. Well, like, what I need is bereavement. What I need is work off. And it's been interesting because I've been hearing things like that, like, oh, what do you need? And then I'll ask for what I need. It's always just something like fairly small, but perhaps will be inconvenient. Like, might require you to run to the grocery store. And I've noticed like a lot of people being like, oh, I can't do that, I'm busy, I have to get up work or whatever, which happens, right? But it means that like I do have things that like I could really use, and not enough people that are able, because of what's going on in their lives, to help. And I am aware that I need help or I'm gonna end up in the same situation. And now I have a family and I can't afford to die early. I have dependents rather. And it makes more sense why my mom and my abuela were so quick to ask people for help, even strangers. And it was something I'd be like, Mom, like, we don't even know this person. Like, why are you asking them this? And now I get it, because that was how she survived as a single mom, as a disabled woman, like she survived by being willing to put herself out there and be like, and maybe even look embarrassing or whatever. But like, she had kids to feed. I understand her in ways that it's not that I didn't understand them before, but I understand more of her. My mom and I have always understood each other. That's something we've never lacked. Okay, so that was the really poorly put prompts. I know I wrote Camp Suki on the back because I do my Camp Oregon. That's what this merchandise is from. Your cabin or mine. And I do that. I will link my bonfire merch also. That's another way you can support the family because I've got a bunch of cool shit up there. So that is that. The fundraiser is going to be down below. CashApp stuff is going to be down below. There's no pressure. Same with Amazon stuff. To those of you who cried, messaged me, those of you who had the pleasure of interacting with my mom in our grieving, I am also offering you my condolences. I'm so sorry that you lost Suki too. Yeah, so anything that you guys do end up sending is going to go to moving costs, taking care of the dogs. Akasha still needs to be in dog training, right? Like, she will probably need to be in training for many years. And that package itself was $5,000. It's insane. And obviously I'm not paying for a package that expensive again. I just can't. But I will need to dog training sessions that I get with her are $200 a session because they have a big facility. They work specifically with aggressive dogs. It's like a whole thing. So long story short, that would help. I think that's everything. Suki's readathon is definitely going to happen on Valentine's Day again because that was her birthday. And we're going to be doing reading sprints. Oh, the other thing is, if you have been thinking about joining my Patreon or were on my Patreon in the past, now is an amazing time to join. That would also help my family so much. I have spoken before about being inconsistent on my Patreon because of, I live with very severe mental illness. And also I was having like really bad problems with my neck and shoulder. And we found out recently that it was because I have a protruding disc in my C4 and 5, which is exactly where my mother had hers. Like, we're the same person. We just are. So now that my health issues have been like more worked out and what I really need is community, I think I'm going to be, and with me not dancing, hopefully less. I'm still going to have to be dancing quite a bit for at least the next month, but any help that I get or my YouTube videos being watched just means it's one day less that I have to go in. But just dealing with all the sexual assault, the comments, the racism, the drama, like me being around drinking and drugs is just not a good idea right now. I had a relapse with self-harm, and I've struggled with self-harm since I was 10, but I haven't had a relapse like that or even a session like that was as violent as it was. So I'm saying this just because I want to be honest, like, and there's no reason for me not to be honest. It's impossible for me to feel embarrassed or ashamed about needing help at this point. My mother wasn't. Why should I be? And I want to show you her designs that I just want you guys to get to see it. I do plan on at some point taking over her business. Because I refuse to not let my mother's business launch. I refuse. I won't have it. So I have her sewing machine, her sewing table, all her sewing stuff. I'm just not anywhere near ready. But Handmade by Suki will happen. I want to start with candles though, because that's easier. And I'm saving all of the little glass candle jars that I have from the votive candles I've been ordering. So if you have any really good advice or videos on candle makers, I know Becca's great. I should probably reach out to her and ask her, but yes. Okay, so, yeah, let me show you the bags, and then I'll get out of this bitch. All right. Oh, that's what I was going to tell you. The other reason why it's a good idea to join the Patreon is because we are launching Suki's Supernatural Sundays, and that is going to be a watch-along that we do every Sunday until we watch all of Supernatural. It was her favorite show, and I was never particularly interested. I would watch it with her, but I'd be reading while it, and like, I've only seen a handful of episodes because she'd be like, oh my God, come watch this with me. And also she would watch it and I would like fall asleep and she would rub my back. She always rubbed my back in this like particular way. Even though I'm a 32-year-old adult, she would always like put her hand up my t-shirt and just like scratch my back slowly, like she'd been doing since I was just a child. Okay. Oh, I almost stepped on my dog. She likes to be shaked. All right. So, this one. Okay. All right, this is one of her creations. Notice she was working on her embroidery. This is the interior of the bag. She has pockets in here and this really big thing for me to put like my shoes and maybe clothes that I've worn and need to wash. And then behind that, there's even more pockets. It's incredible. Oh, and on the front, it has my dancer name. Ari. So that was one. This is a prototype for the bag she wanted to start selling for BookTube. Oh, sorry, abuse. And so these are for readers. Annotating supplies can go in here. And then zipper. And then there's dividers in here, and then space in the back and space here. So that was one of her designs. The big stripper bag she made for me is this behemoth. It's huge. For my shoes, other shoes. This also has side pockets. My mother taught herself how to do all this in like 3 months. Because she's a bad bitch. Sewing was in Abuelita's blood, so it didn't really surprise us that she took off, but there's way more in here, incredible stuff, but my phone's gonna die. And then she also made this. This is from her fall collection. It's gorgeous. I should start carrying this one around. But, yeah. I love you guys. Thank you for witnessing my family and their grief and letting my mom know she matters. Because at the end of the day, it's not necessarily comforting words that I need. It doesn't really comfort me to be told, like, she's with me. She's not. Like, it doesn't comfort me to be told, like, you know, all these really beautiful platitudes that probably help a lot of people. But for me, I felt my spiritual connection with my mom that we've had since birth. Like, we speak to each other without tongue. I know she's not here. She's resting. And I want messages to get to her, to that space. And maybe I will be able to speak with her spirit again someday, but I'm not there now, and I need to stop holding out hope, because that's when I start having the panic attacks. Or I'm always having the panic attacks, but when people say things that give me hope that, like, yeah, she's here, when I'm having my panic attack, I'm waiting for her ghostly arms around me to comfort me down. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? And I think I need to be okay with the fact that she's not here. I don't need her to be here just because other people feel comforted by the idea that she is. I need to grieve and rejoin her one day when it's time. At the end of the day, hey, no thank you. Akasha, no. My brother's probably coming upstairs from walking Jack, but this is the send-off. Thank you. I hope you guys can participate. I know it's late in the game, but I don't know, acts of service mean a lot to me, if I'm being perfectly honest. And like those of you who are rearranging your TVRs, to do this, to put an effort, to inconvenience yourself, right? To do this for my family. Like, that's what an act of service means to me. And not to say that every gift has to be a sacrifice, but you know what I mean? Like, it means a lot. Okay. I love you guys. I love Suki. I love you, Mommy. And I know you guys love me too.